Hello lovely friends, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I am sort of okay. I've done a really stupid thing. I've tweaked my back. It's so annoying. And really stupid. I've literally just done it this morning, about an hour ago, getting my porridge oats out to make my breakfast. So stupid. They're in a cupboard, it's a low cupboard, and so I kind of have to bend, and it's a very slight twist. I just wasn't thinking, did it, and came up and went, oh, ow, 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 ow. Oh, it's the simplest things, isn't it? So I was planning to be in the garden today, more on the garden in a second, but I'm not going to the garden. It would just make my back way more angry than it already is, and there's a chance, even if I was doing gentle work, there's a chance I'm gonna just really exacerbate this and put myself out of action for a couple of weeks, and nobody needs that at this time of year. So I'm gonna stay at home and I'm gonna do the work that I plan to do in about 3 days time, which is quite sit down desk type stuff. I'll do that today instead, but I won't just be sitting still all day or lying down, lying on my back. That would be the worst thing for my back. I will keep moving all day. I'll be moving, but gently and mindfully, so that when I move I think about where I'm going to go so that I don't twist and jerk it. So frustrating. I will do some exercises as well, some stretches and some exercises on the floor. I've had, I was going to say back issues, not really back issues. I have had moments in the past where I've done something similar. Tweaked it, annoying. There was one, I think this is probably where it all began. It was about, about 25 years or so ago. I was doing a stunt in a show, rehearsing, and I took off badly and I landed badly and really hurt my back, but I carried on, and after about, I don't know, 3 or 4 more days of rehearsals, I got to the stage I couldn't move. I mean, I could hardly move. So I stayed home one day and oh my god, the pain was horrible. I kind of lay on the floor. I don't know, I think I'd read somewhere that, you lay on a hard surface, what have you. And by the end of that day, wow, I really couldn't move. And it was awful. It went on for days and days and days until eventually a friend of mine recommended I go and see her osteopath / naturopath. And I think before then, I'd managed, my then boyfriend drove me to my doctor's surgery, somehow got me into the doctor's. I could barely stand upright, let alone walk. And my doctor had given me a shot, God knows what it was. I just remember I was lying face down and my pants were pulled down a bit, because it was like going right down to the bottom of my spine. Gave me a shot. I don't know whether it was a pain relief or, a muscle relaxant. Anyway, it had done no good. So I ended up seeing this naturopath, osteopath. Oh, he was brilliant. He was he was my God. He got me walking again. He got me moving again. And not only that, so I saw him essentially that first time as an osteopath, but he was also a naturopath. So we started working together, looking at my migraines and seeing if we could do anything about my migraines, and just sort of my general overall well-being, both physical and emotional. He was great, but not cheap. That's why I don't see that sort of practitioner anymore. But the reason I'm mentioning him is because the wonderful Craig, he was so fantastic, lovely guy from New Zealand. I loved his voice. I just felt in such safe hands whenever I saw him. Sometimes I'd go and have some acupuncture with him. Other times we were looking at sort of diet and the sort of acid alkaline balance, all these sorts of things. Great. Very much that holistic approach, which is which is the approach I sort of instinctively want to take to my health. I don't want to, take a tablet to fix things if I can fix things through movement, through diet, through mental attitude, that sort of thing. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning him is because he took me through a series of exercises to do. 2 different types of exercises, really. One to do to basically keep my back strong and supple, to keep all those muscles as strong and supple as they can be. And another that's sort of for sort of relief and ease and sort of stretching if my back is feeling a bit either tight or it's starting to go into spasm, which it is right now. And I've kept those exercises up for the last 25 years. Not every day, which is a bit bad, but I would say, every couple of weeks or so, I have a really good session, workout on the floor, doing the sort of the strengthening and the, excuse me, I've got a tickle. I don't have a cough. I haven't had a cough since I came out of hospital. Excuse me a second. Yeah, the ones that are primarily about keeping me strong and supple, I do those, every couple of weeks or so. The ones that are more about relieving when I'm going into spasm, like today, I will be doing those today. And for the whole day, I will just, like I said, I'll keep moving very gently. So, the minute we've stopped chatting, because obviously I'll be sitting now for probably half an hour or so. That seems to be my my chat time length. The minute I've stopped filming, I'll move around a bit. I'll probably get myself down on the floor and do some of those relieving stretches. So frustrating. I mean, it's just the littlest thing. The last time this happened, it hasn't happened for ages. I think it was the spring of either 2018 or 2019. It was pre-COVID. That's how we're going to start measuring things, isn't it? Because we're coming up for 2 years since it all kicked off. I mean, it's... Wow, those images. Let's not go back there. But yeah, it was definitely... it's 3 or 4 years ago. And again, it was the most stupid little movement. And I'm sharing this just as a reminder that we all need to be mindful about how we move. And it's got nothing to do with age. And it's got nothing to do with fitness or flexibility or strength. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's pure, although obviously if you've got weak muscles, just quickly on that note, especially in the back, when you've got weak back muscles, we tend to overcompensate in other areas. Excuse me. So for instance, we might engage all those kind of, the glute muscles, those big, lovely big muscles around our buttocks, that area, and over our hips. We might engage those to try and support us because our back muscles are weak. But generally, what I've done today, it's got nothing to do with being unhealthy, being unfit, being weak, having some sort of inherently weak structure down in my back. It's nothing to do with that. It's just a moment of mindlessness. So with things like, bending and lifting, we should always be mindful. Always think about what we're doing, and before we make that big movement, make sure that we're engaging our muscles, that we're bracing, that we're ready. So the previous time I'd done it, it was like asking for trouble. I'd bought a load of bags of compost, and I'd been taking a bag of compost or so down to the garden sort of every day that I was going down there in the spring, as I'll start to do now. I've mentioned before, it's really hard to organise a delivery to my site because firstly, the site doesn't have an address. Secondly, the access to the site is a little tiny narrow lane. You can't get big trucks down there. Thirdly, in terms of waiting for delivery, well, I don't live there. So if someone offers me delivery from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m, as so many of these companies do. What am I supposed to do? Sit outside the gate from 8 in the morning for a delivery that might not happen till 7:30 at night? Not practical. So because of that, with compost, I will buy a bag, put it in my granny trolley. In those days, I used to put it in my rucksack and carry it. Oh my God, the thought of all that weight in my rucksack going down through my knees. Ah, anyway, but rather than piling back to the compost bags and the tweak, rather than piling the compost bags up on my deck or somewhere in the garden, I was piling them up inside the cold frame, because quite often if you leave them outside in the garden, the foxes will come along and tear them open, and I don't know, they love rummaging in a compost bag and spray the compost everywhere, chew up the plastic, get bits of plastic everywhere. So I'd been piling them up in the cold frame. And of course, one day I went to grab a bag of the compost, wasn't thinking. And I wasn't stood straight on to the cold frame in the position that I was going to bend in. I was in such a hurry. It was like I was almost walking past the cold frame, turning as I got past the cold frame, bending, and then just hoiking this, 40-litre bag. 40 litres is like 40 kilos. So I was twisted and bending. Stupid girl, that's gonna hurt. Yeah. Twisting and bending at the same time is a recipe for disaster so often. And that's exactly what I've done this morning. I've twisted and bent to get me porridge oats out. I mean, it's not even a full... I've got them in like a Tupperware pot, and there's only about that much oats left in the bottom of that pot. It was nothing to do with the weight of it. Just the awkwardness. So yeah, please don't anybody worry. I don't inherently have a bad back. I know because I have broken quite a lot of bones in the past. People have worried that, you should have a bone scan. You've obviously got really weak bones. You've got brittle bones. No, I don't. I have dyspraxia, which means I fall a lot. And any bone, even the strongest, healthiest bone, under a great force, will break. So yeah. Never mind. It's something I've talked about before, that the way I've arranged my life now, I can be flexible. So all the stuff I was going to do in the garden today, it will wait. It's not, there are some things in the garden which are time specific, such as when we plant things or when we sow our seeds. For instance, I'm not sowing any seeds right. Well, I'm going to be sowing something tomorrow probably, my celery, because that's an early starter. But generally, I won't be sowing anything until we're into April. Not even, tomatoes, all that thing. So although even sowing seeds, there is a sort of time specificness to them, there is still a good degree of flexibility. So let's say, for instance, today I was planning to sow my tomatoes, and I think, I just can't move to lift the compost up onto the workbench to do that. Fine, they can wait 2 weeks, Last year, last year at times I was about 6 weeks behind schedule with things. 6 weeks behind my normal schedule, because basically the whole month of March disappeared. I wasn't in the garden at all in March. You know why. I'm busy dealing with other things. I was hardly there. I worked it out last night. Sorry, this isn't what I was intending to talk about today, but we might as well. Let me just get comfy a bit, chat about it. Last night I was thinking about this because I was reflecting on what I'd managed to get done in the garden yesterday and where I'm at. And I was thinking back to last year. And generally for me, I think of March to the end of September as that's my real gardening time. Throughout October, there's still a little bit going on, clear up, getting the garlic in, getting the broad beans in. But generally, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, those 7 months are my priority is the garden. And last year, of those 7 months, I was away from the garden, and this is shocking when I worked it out. I was away from the garden, as in completely away, for a total of 3 months. And between that, intermittently as well. So it's amazing that I made a garden at all last year. And that's why, let's talk about this today anyway. I've got a very, very different mindset to the garden this year. Because last year what happened was I had so little time there that when I was there, it was pressurised. The time was pressurised. It was so stressy. I'm aware that I'm going slower than ever before anyway. So, once upon a time I'd have thought, right, at the height of summer, I'll do a 16-hour day in the garden. I'll do a week's worth of work in a day. Brilliant, done. I've caught up. There's no way I could do that now. First, I can't do a 16-hour day in the garden, but also in those 16 hours, I'd only achieve about 5 or 6 hours worth of work. Anyway, so it's quite a shock to reflect on that's I missed so much time. And because of that, something has got neglected completely. I didn't wash my pots and trays. I've just been doing them now. Oh my goodness. You might have seen that on my Instagram. The other night I washed, I think it was 120 pots. Someone was saying to me, why'd you bother washing your pots and trays? Well, one of the reasons is because they're in my home. They're over there, they end up all over my furniture and my floor. I don't want that level of muckiness all over my furniture and my floor. Plus, the little baby snails that are growing in them and all that other stuff, I don't want them growing and getting bigger and crawling all over my bed, because my ceilings, they're right next to my bed. Now, I don't mind sharing my bed with the occasional spider, but I ain't sharing it with a snail or slug. Anyway, so yeah. Last year, didn't do all my pot washing, didn't paint the shed. The shed really, really needs attention. And I need to make that a priority this year, because it's, like I was saying the other day about our clothes, repair things in good time to make them last. So yeah, things got neglected. The garden got weedy and tatty. And I had to convince myself in my head, I had to convince myself that it didn't bother me, because I just didn't have time for it. And I coped quite well with the messiness, had no choice. But, it did upset me and it did bug me. And the bottom line is, I didn't even get my deck chair out last year. I didn't have a single moment in the garden that was just being there and chilling and relaxing. I didn't have any of those times last year of just hanging out with friends after a gardening session. And I know that was all for the last 2 years. That's been much, much, much more on the low key because of social distancing and all that. But I don't think there was this, I'm pretty sure there wasn't even a single occasion last year when I was at the garden, finished all my work in the summer, and had a bottle of beer with my mates. I didn't have a bottle of beer even on my own. That's the joy of the garden, isn't it? Just chill out afterwards and have a beer with your mates. So, I am so determined that's not happening this year. And even if I have some unforeseen things that come up, I need to sort of say to myself, yeah, but the garden is still a priority. So obviously I was dealing with Auntie Teapot's death, the funeral, the being the executor, sorting out all her bills, paying off debtors, trying to get money back from credit, all that kind of stuff. But even if something like that was to happen again, well, firstly, I know how to do it now. That would be easier. But also, it's that thing of, yes, I need to do all those things, but I still need to do my garden because it's my food. But more than that, I need to do my garden because it's my headspace. And I need, because we all do, I need to have moments where I'm just being there. So by October, November of last year, I'd already formulated that plan in my mind of saying, right, if generally speaking, by the beginning of June, that's when all the last planting happens. So the beds will all be seeded, but at the beginning of June, that's when my tender things, which have been brought on at home, transferred to the cold frame for hardening off, that's when they will get planted out. So all the tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, peppers, what else is planted out? And all my backup beans that I start on the deck. Sometimes it's like 200 bean plants. They all need to be planted out. It's a mammoth time of planting. That last week of May, first week of June. So by the end of last year, I was thinking, right, if that's my planting out time, work backwards in terms of getting the beds prepared and then getting all the structures built. So the beam arches, the beam supports. Because last year, I think I got the bean arches up in mid-June, but they're only half finished. I didn't ever give them their sort of bracing. So they did go a bit wonky, pardon me, and we had a bit of a breeze in August. So they're only half done in the middle of June, too late, naughty. That's not going to happen this year. So my take on it this year, move a bit. I've worked backwards and it's like, right, okay, through March and April, I need to be getting 2 beds a week prepared. By the beginning of May, putting my structures up. And it's going really well. Yay! And considering, I still, look, in terms of my health, no change with the knees. They get a little bit worse each year, but, I'm used to it. I pace myself with my knees. In terms of, my immunity, the chest issues, what have you, my chest is feeling so much better. I haven't had a cough. Going in for another checkup this week, and then I'm seeing the respiratory consultant in a couple of weeks' time. Hopefully I'll get the all clear. I can stop using the inhaler, all that business. It has undoubtedly, it's left me a little bit tired. I mean, I don't want to go on about it. It's not a pity party for sure, but it's left me a little bit tired. So I do have to pace myself. But even bearing that in mind, my attitude at the moment is when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling strong, when I'm feeling up to it, crack on with the garden. I'm actually, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I'm ahead of where I thought I'd be at this stage. Where are we? Middle of March. I'm kind of at the stage today that I thought I'd be at the end of March. Fantastic. And so while I feel like this, make hay while the sun shines, because who knows, in 2 weeks' time, I may not feel great. I may not be up to doing as much. So do it now while I feel up to it. Brilliant. And I'm glad I've put all the effort in the last sort of, how long is it? Just literally in the last couple of weeks, since the end of February. My back isn't anything. You see, here's the irony. This is why it's so idiotic. I do have a really strong back. In general, I'm a strong girl, out of my way, I can do it. I am physically strong. I think I'm mentally strong too. So, all that digging doesn't bother me. It bothers my knees, but in terms of the rest of my body, in terms of my muscles, I'll do a session like that. I don't ache afterwards. I come home, I do a bit of stretching. Someone was asking me about this the other day, about how I look after my body and how I recover after these quite physical sessions. The main thing is, I'll come home and do some stretches. Quite often have a nice long hot bath. Oh, I love my bath with Epsom salts. But the main thing is, I keep moving. The worst thing you can do is be really physical, then get home and just slump on the sofa in front of the telly for the rest of the evening. Let's look at our sports people, our athletes. When we watch, for instance, I don't know if you ever watch track cycling, But if you're watching cyclists in the velodrome, you know, they go pelting around that track, crazy speeds. And in the background, when you're watching, if you look into the middle of the velodrome, you'll see tons of cyclists on static bikes, and they're either warming up or cooling down. You'll never see a professional athlete finish their race and go off home and sit on the sofa. You know, if you watch swimming, you'll always hear them, you know, Sharon Davis in the UK, our Sharon, does the post-swim interviews, and she'll always finish it by saying, right, off you go and do your swim down. You know, a swim down, like a cool down. So yeah, I always keep moving, even after a really physically hard session, when you might think, oh, just flop. I never flop. Don't flop, because everything is just going to go. Yeah, so amazingly, after having done, I've been doing all my digging, and I've been burrowing horse poo. Didn't bother me. It bothers my knees, but like I said, the rest of me, it doesn't bother me. My shoulders don't ache, my arms don't ache from pushing that barrow. It's just I've tweaked my back. How stupid and annoying. Anyway, gosh, that was a massive digression. That wasn't what I was planning to chat about. Oh, well, we're chatting anyway. Let's just chat. So, yes, I'm pleased. I'm delighted with progress so far. The fact that my back's a bit jaunty today, shall we say. Jaunty, not jaunty, naughty. It's being a bit naughty. Ooh, I'm not panicking, because even if this carries on for a week, it'll be blimmin' annoying. It'll be really blimmin' annoying. Because apart from anything, we've got nice weather. I want to get outside. It's nice. It'll be annoying, but I won't panic. I won't be freaking out, because I know I've already done a chunk of work and I'm actually ahead of schedule. Yay! Yeah, hopefully this will resolve, you know, in not too long a time. Right, in other news, when I was doing my filling my lavender bags, thank you so much to everybody who purchased. You're all amazing, thank you. And quite a few of you written with a little photograph to say it's arrived. I'm delighted. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anything I sell in the shop always generates a donation to Macmillan, the Macmillan Cancer Nurses. That is continuing. I'm also doing a little donation now, siphoning off a bit over to the Disasters and Emergencies Committee for relief for Ukrainian refugees and what's going on over there. I'm not going to dwell on it, I can't bear it. So that's great. And then my bit of profit, I'm using some of it for, you know, some compost, for the horse poo. That was a mighty effort the other day. I've done 2 lots of horse poo now. Brilliant. The second lot I did, by the time I finished it, my knees were like, stop. So I didn't rake any of it out. I didn't spread it out. It's in piles. That'll be done another day. But I'd thought ahead, and I knew that would be quite an effort and it would hurt my knees. So I'd thought ahead, and I had, next to the shed, I had a big pile of all the old, like the dregs of my brassica stalks, and, you know, the sort of crappy leaves that have the really old damaged leaves from the ex-broccoli, ex-cabbages and ex-red kale bed. So I had a big pile of those. And then, do you remember when I was doing that initial bit of preparation to receive the muck, I had all the dried squash vines. I had a pile of those. So I'd chop a bit of the green stuff, chop into the barrow, chop a bit of the dried stuff, mix it up. And I literally sat for an hour and a half outside the shed, chopping. So that was the perfect thing to do after the horse muck, because it gave my knees just enough time to calm down a bit to then come home. So that's where the gardener's at. Good. Right, yes. In other news, actually I'll just do these couple of things. The house move, right. So in the lavender bag video, that's how I got to lavender bags, isn't it? I was mentioning that I'd already thought that I might postpone moving until the autumn, just because of being so poorly over the winter. I was just getting nothing done at home. Obviously then a chunk of time in hospital and coming home, and that first week of being home I did nothing. It's amazing to think that was only a month ago. I feel so much better. But I'm still going quite slowly at home, and I already felt like I was 3 months behind with things I needed to do here. So I was thinking, right, take the pressure off yourself, Vivi. Plan to move in September. And I was mentioning also that the lease issue was still, what's going on? So I now know what's going on with the lease issue. I know people can't get their head around this. It's like, why is there a lease if you own your property? It's very, very simply, and it's typical for cities. You know, the vast majority of flats in London are what's known as leasehold rather than freehold. I own the bricks and mortar. I own this flat. It's mine, and it's mine to sell and do with as I please. No one can tell me what to do. It's mine. My investment in this is coming back to me when I sell it. However, the land that it sits on, here's my flat right at the top of the building, here's another flat, and a shop. This land that it sits on, I rent that land. I don't own it. And so that's what I lease. I lease the land that the flat sits on. I know, it's stupid. The laws are changing to protect all of us leaseholders. And the thing with the lease, because I've lived here for 20 odd years, most mortgage companies, most buyers, no one's going to touch a property with a lease that has less than 80 years left on it. The thinking being, leases get extended all the time. As the lease years come down, you go, need to extend it. You pay the landlord, the person who owns it, you pay them to extend the lease. And it's thousands of pounds. I mean, I've literally handed over, it's about £6,500 I've had to pay out to extend the lease, pay his solicitor, pay my solicitor. It's a lot of money. It's crazy. But that's to extend the lease so that I can sell the flat. It was all in process. It was all in progress. All the monies were handed over. Everything was signed off on the 9th of August. Actually, it was at the beginning of August last year. On the 9th of August, all the paperwork was submitted to the Land Registry. This is the organisation that basically, they hold the register of who owns the land, who leases it, how long the leases are for, etc. So if there's a change to the lease, the Land Registry make that change in the register. We're all good. We're all tickety-boo. Well, apparently, the Land Registry seem to have been the most affected by COVID. Oh, poor Land Registry. They can't cope. They can't do the work. So paperwork submitted August 2021. We're now told that the earliest they will look at our paperwork is January 2023. So they're at least 18 months behind. I mean, what have they been doing? Never mind. So the bottom line is I'm delayed a year. So when I initially got that news, I was so upset. I was kind of angry and frustrated and upset and feeling trapped and So I had those feelings for about an hour, and then I thought, you know what? I can't do anything about that. I can't make them go faster. Okay, let's see this as an opportunity, and that's what I'm doing. I've decided to use that bad news as an opportunity instead and say, okay, fine. I've got a whole year to prepare myself now to do the move. When I say prepare myself, what I'm talking about is prepare the flat. I still have quite a lot of outstanding stuff in my own life that needs to be dealt with, that I was getting pressured about and thinking, can I do that and the flat in order? So I've got plenty of time to organise myself and get all those outstanding things, just get them off the table. A couple of those things I'm going to be doing today. Yay! So I suddenly feel I feel relieved actually that this is for the first time in ages, in over a year, you know, maybe even in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, for the first time in that time, I feel like I've got time to do the things that I want to do and that I need to do. And I'm even going to have time to have, you know, days off in the garden. I haven't been doing a day off in, you know, 5 years. It's ridiculous. It's too much for anyone. You know, I do say that I'm strong physically, I'm strong mentally, I'm strong emotionally, but even the strongest of us need a day off. So yeah, it's, like I said, initially I was a bit like, but it's meant to be, isn't it, you know? And I'm going to turn it into a positive, I'm going to turn it into an opportunity for myself. Great. So, you know, now obviously we're flying. Are we flying? Flying headlong into the busy garden season. Great. I have got back on the sewing machine. I've been loving that. I've got all sorts. There are piles all over the flat. All sorts of other creative. I mean, I talked about those ideas in that long lavender bag filling chat. Those things are happening. I can't show you actually. I was mentioning the sort of vintage haberdashery. I was having a bit of a sort out the other day. My next job is to measure all my lengths. Some of the broderie anglaise edging has got, even though I put things away so carefully years ago, some of this stuff, and this is the other thing, isn't it? When I move house, a lot of this stuff will be gone because I've got a roll of broderie anglaise that I must have bought. I think I was still living at home, at my mum's home, so I was 17 or 18. We'd gone on a day trip. I think I mentioned this at some point. We'd gone on a day trip to, was it Harrogate or somewhere like that? And met a lady who had a stall, and she was selling off all sorts of sort of fabric and haberdashery bits from a shop that had been closed up for years, and people had gone into it. Had been closed for years and years and years, and someone had finally either bought the property or they were going to do it up and have a new shop there, nothing to do with haberdashery. So the whole shop was gutted, all the beautiful old mahogany cabinetry, the little drawers with the glass fronts, and she'd bought a mass sort of job lot of the contents and she was selling it off. So that's why I've got so much vintage stuff, because I bought a load that day. So this broderie anglaise, for example, don't know how old it is. I've certainly had it, crikey, 30 odd years. And obviously where it's been in one of my trunks, it's been slightly squished. I rolled it up really neatly, but it's kind of obviously over the years gotten squished. So I need to press it. I don't know, it's probably about 10 metres I need to press it. So yeah, I'm starting to get on with those things. I'll bring you more of that as and when things are actually getting done. But yeah, this delaying the house move gives me time, and I'm so delighted about this. From now until September, my focus is going to be the garden and my shop. And by the shop, I mean either sewing or upcycling or just looking for other stock for the shop. What bliss, what beautiful way to spend my hours gardening and playing with fabric. And then as we get into September and next winter, the plan will be as we get towards September, then I can come back and focus my attention on my snagging list for the flat. Bathroom taps need replacing. I've got an access hole for the isolators for the bathroom taps. That access hole, I need to make a cover for it, decorate the kitchen, all these sorts of things. I can think of those as being the jobs for next winter. But if I do get time before then, I will start on those jobs. I don't want to leave things to the last minute, definitely not. It's just, I'm sure you can sense it, a sense of relief. I don't have to try and do everything in the next 6 months. I've got essentially 10, 11 months to do things. Thank goodness. So I shall keep ploughing on. Very quickly before we go, I want to just share a couple of things. I had a couple of bits of post. Now, this isn't signed. I can't remember who it's from, but I remember seeing Lisa on the envelope. This made me so happy. This is a lovely little letter, but on the back, oh, I've gone fuzzy. Can you see what it is? It's a Sudoku. Thank you, lovely. And not just a Sudoku. Bless her, she clipped out the answers. I don't know the answers for Sudoku. I'm a Sudoku genius. But there's also, and I shall do this later, a sort of a crossword. I've really gone out of focus, haven't I? It's the light in this corner, I think. So yeah, I loved that. That was hilarious. I opened it up. I was like, what are these inserts? Oh, puzzles! Puzzles! I love a puzzle. The Sudoku, though, it took me about 3 minutes. Oh, me back. Loved it. I love the puzzle called Killer. Love that. Oh, careful, Vivi. I then had this gorgeous card from Rosalind. It's so perfect. It says, rested, renewed, revitalised, refreshed. Oh, my camera's struggling. Is it the light today? Oh, let's find the light for you. There we go. Isn't that lovely? Thank you so much, Rosalind. And you're so sweet and naughty. Rosalind sent me a tenner. Thank you. I can't remember where you live, Rosalind. Rosalind's overseas. Are you in North America? She sent me a tenner. Thank you so much. I shall put that towards... I might put it in the compost fund. Or I might treat myself to some more fruit because, oh my goodness, when Richard and Paul came, they brought so much fruit. I mean, a sack of fruit. Let's call it that, a sack of fruit. I've noshed the lot, but I think I've got 1, or is it 2 apples left. They're nice, good, hard, crunchy green apples. They'll keep in the fridge. But the tenner, it's funny to see this now. It's one of our old ones. So all of our notes now have been converted. They're sort of plastic. I don't like them. I don't like them because they're plastic. Oh. Move, Vivi. But also I don't like them because when you put the note in your wallet, they don't fold very well. So I normally fold my notes in half to put them in my purse. You put them in and they go doing. They jump out. The notes jump out of your purse. I'm like, no, you're going in, stay in. But yeah, it's kind of weird to see one of these old ones again. So I can't go and spend that in a shop, whether it's compost or fruit, but I can just take it to my local branch of my local bank that still has a branch. Please let us keep this one bank open on our high street. Because that's the thing, isn't it? I was mentioning the other day about all these branches which are shutting. You know, I think for a lot of us it will be mildly annoying. You know, we'll go online and do our banking that way. It will occasionally be really annoying because I would have to take a bus trip to another town to pay this in, and the bus trip will cost me £3. This isn't, you know, I'm not having to go, Rosalind. It's not a problem. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you. But I'm just saying, for instance, you know, let's say you're a kid and you get given £10 for your birthday and you don't want to spend it all in one go. This doesn't make sense, does it? A kid's going to want to spend £10 all in one go. And, you know, they say to Mum, can you put it in my little savings account and my bank account? And it's going to cost £3 to put £10 in the bank. But it's not just, so for us it's kind of mildly inconvenient and occasionally really annoying. But I just think of all those people, and I think particularly elderly people, let's face it, who maybe just, you know, who don't have a computer at home, who don't have the internet, and who aren't online. And maybe, you know, maybe they do have a computer, maybe they are online, but they're just really wary and suspicious about doing their banking that way. You know, it's a big step in thinking, isn't it, to go from that idea of having a local bank with a bank manager and faces and people that you trust with your precious, you know, hard-earned money, to then doing your banking just in this kind of ether thing. I mean, I do know quite a lot of older people who just don't trust it, who worry about it. So yeah, anyway, let's just hope that branch stays open. And you know what, if it doesn't, nothing I can do about it except, you know, think about where the next nearest branch is. But, oh, yeah, thank you. I need to get up and move now. Thank you, Rosalind. That's very gratefully received. Thank you, bless you. And then this is the last one, and I must shut up. This is from Carolyn. This card couldn't be more perfect. Perfect. Get the light off it. Let this poor camera focus. Can you see? Well, obviously, that's a rusty-alike puss, but can you see it sitting on a bookshelf? And there's a little bit of sewing here. Yay, for my sewing. And a cricket ball there. I suppose that's a representation of I'm nuts about sport. The only thing is, I'm not really into cricket, but what I love on this, I'm sorry, I'm checking in the screen. I'm sorry I keep flicking my eyes over there, but I'm fuzzy again. Never mind. It's probably better that I'm fuzzy. All the books, they're sort of mouse and cat related. So obviously there's a copy of Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. J.D. Salinger. Why is Salinger's Catcher in the Rye? What's that to do with mice? I don't know. Of Mice and Men. Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, obviously. That is so cute. Oh, I'm fuzzy. It's annoying. Anyway, Carolyn sent. I've got ideas already. She said, can you use these? These are little cotton guest towels. They're only that wide. Oh, the camera's going to really struggle to pick this up. So, plain, and then towards the bottom. Oh, can I get some shadow so you can see? There we go. You can just see the little detail at the bottom. So Carolyn sent these and said, I thought you might be able to do something with these with your sewing. And, oh, I'm sure loads of you get this kind of same frisson with it too. I mean, literally as soon as I opened the packet, Carolyn, my mind is going firing off ideas. Yes, of course, I've got some ideas already. I won't rush to do anything with them because I've got, like I said, I've got so many different ideas straight away. I want to think about which one would be the best to, you know, keep them as sort of complete as possible and to show off. I like the idea of, you know, upcycling things or reusing linens where you can sort of almost still see what it was, but enjoy its new use. So yeah, really lovely. Can't wait. It's funny, I was sort of penciling my schedule for the next 2 weeks, which might sound a little bit like, oh my goodness, that's a bit, you know, and it's like literally every day, Monday right through till Sunday. But there's so much I want to get done in the next couple of weeks. I was just saying that I've got personal stuff I want to get off the table. So the reason I'm kind of looking at a whole 2 weeks is because I've got a couple of appointments. Like I said, I'm back to the hospital, what have you. So there are a few, actually in the next 3 weeks, there are a few things which are time specific. So I have to make a note and organise other stuff around them. Things like, you know, sewing, as in, seed sowing, and the garden progress. When can I fit that in? Let's have a look at the weather forecast for 2 weeks. So doing all that, but, and finish all these piles of things that are around me at the moment. But I think it's scheduled for in about 2.5 weeks' time, possibly just into April. Oh my goodness, it's going to be April. And I've just written one word. No, it's 2 words for that day and 2 exclamation marks. And it says, open trunk. And by that, that's referring to my trunk of vintage linens. More of that when it comes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks, because stuff is going to finally get off my desk and out of my head that has been a long time overdue. That will be gone. That will be a huge sense of relief. I'm looking forward to the next 2 or 3 weeks because we look like we're going to have some nice weather. I'm going to get some great garden time. And because I've managed to do so much already, I'm literally, the last few days when I've been in the garden, I've just felt this pressure coming off me to do with the garden. So the garden, I'm falling in love with the garden again. And it's weird. Oh my goodness, I've been talking so long, I need to wrap up. But let's just say very quickly, when I saw Richard and Paul it was towards the end of February, wasn't it? We were chatting, you know, Paul and I always end up chatting about our gardens. And I was saying how, for the first time ever, I was actually beginning to feel like I didn't want the garden because it's too much work, it's too big a commitment, I can't manage, it's stressing me out, it's always on my mind. Yeah. And now here I am 2.5 weeks later or so. It's getting on for 3. Is it 2? Oh, it feels like so long since I saw them. I miss them when I don't see them. Anyway, yeah, literally in the space of 2 weeks, because of what I've been able to do in the garden already. No way do I want to get rid of the garden. There's a lesson in that for us all, isn't there? Instead of being at home stressing about it and thinking it's too much, just get down there and get stuck in. Before you know it, it's done. So yeah, just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward. That great. Which is kind of what I said at the end of February, isn't it? But yeah, the garden is underway. Brilliant. All this personal, I'm getting it off the table. Great. And, you know, getting stuck into my sewing again, and not just the sewing, but the associated stuff of all this vintage haberdashery that I'm going to be playing with, and, you know, getting to the shop. It's probably not going to be till, I would say, towards the end of April, because there's a lot to organise, there's a lot to photograph, there's a lot of ironing that's going to happen. There's an awful lot will go on before any of it actually becomes public. I'll keep you posted, of course. But it's really lovely work to do. I'm thoroughly enjoying getting stuck in. Right, on that note, giddy, happy girl, I do need to get up. I need to move around. Get up, move around a bit, then get on the floor. Get on the floor and do my stretches before I go and sit at the computer to edit this video, because that'll be another sort of hour of sitting. All right, gorgeosities. That was a long, rambly one, wasn't it? What did we even talk about? I don't know. We chatted. I hope you had something else to do whilst I was yakking on. I know loads of you craft while I'm chatting, and some of you iron, some of you do the washing up, some of you prepare supper. I like the idea that we're just hanging out together and nattering like old mates. So hopefully next time I see you, I won't be nattering quite so much. I'll be back to doing in the garden. I hope you can join me then. But until then, please look after yourselves, look after each other, be kind. Cheerio.